again, and I admit it, it's anecdotal evidence of men portraying one thing and then in reality not giving a fuck. Yeah. I've never had an OnlyFans friend that could not find men. I've never, and it really be like the most red-pilled dude. Like the sissy sub is the most red-pilled person that I know. And a lot of the subbers on OnlyFans are people's like coach dads or like the ones that like, I'm against OnlyFans. So I just have a hard time accepting without evidence that most men in today's society prefer virgins. But I understand the reasoning for preferring virgins or people that don't have a high body count. I don't dispute that in any way.
Okay, so look, here's the situation, right? Will a woman who's promiscuous, will a woman who's engaged in sex work be able to find a boyfriend? Yes. Can they find a husband? Yes. But we're having a conversation of what men prefer. So just because men might prefer one thing or another.
I think they just want to be the hot chick. Yeah. I think most men just want to be the hot chick and they don't really care.
I'll give you, look.
That's all. They want to get
I would prefer, me personally, if it's between like a girl who's a 7, who's a virgin, and I'm talking, just to be clear, talking about her physical appearance here, Jesus Christ. Somebody's going to clip that shit. And then a woman who's like a 10, who slept with 100 men. I'd much prefer to date and have a relationship with the girl who's a 7.
I feel like the 7s are,
and I think totally fair. I'm not arguing that at all.
Like
good for you. I just think most men don't give a shit.
Like the 10s are definitely nowadays the 10s are definitely having like a lot of sex. It's like
I think most men are going to go for the 10.
And then dating them out. But for 7s and above, they're still having a lot of sex.
And I hope I'm wrong, by the way. Like,
they're still having a lot of promiscuous sex.
I would love to believe that men really uphold the values that...
Hold on. But just to be clear, like the men you probably are around, you were a stripper. You did OnlyFans.
No. I'm around church men that literally procure... It's not the
What's
people
your denomination?
Y'all think. I'm a non-denominational Christian.
Okay.
Should I pick a denomination? I guess you could say I'm a Protestant because I'm not a Catholic.
Okay.
I see how they push for that. You could classify me as that.
Well, we can go in circles on this the whole time. Did you not find the paternity uncertainty argument that Andrew made compelling?
Sure.
So there's an evolutionary basis. So for example,
100%.
So for example, if a woman has 10 husbands and she's sleeping with all 10 of them prior to DNA testing, who's the father? You don't know. But if a man has 10 wives, you know who the father is in all instances, and you know who the mother is in all instances. Yeah. So for this reason,
I don't discredit that.
Right, this reason, it's an evolutionary reason, paternity uncertainty, it's one of the biggest L's you can take as a guy to raise a child, like to think that the child's yours, where there's paternity fraud, to think that the child is yours, but it actually isn't. You got cheated on, you got cucked, major L for a guy.
Right, but like, think about it. You just had Destiny on here recently. That is a great reflection of men these days. I don't think most men give a fuck. Like most men don't even want to have kids.
Well,
most men are cool with polygamous relationships. Like most men don't have the standard where they're like,
he's not religious. That's
you think that most men? You think that most men want to let their wife get fucked by other men?
I think a lot of maybe not their wife, but I think a lot of men just really don't give a fuck about this anymore.
Then why'd you say Destiny was a good reflection of the general population?
I mean, a lot of men are that way now.
There's not a lot of men. Demonstrate it for me.
Make a poll. How many people are polygamous? Like, how can I demonstrate it for you when I'm not like?
No, that's not my question. How many men do you think let other men on purpose bang their chick?
I think there's a lot of people in open relationships.
Give us a
these
percentage.
Days.
Let's see how many videos
how many do you think?
Cuckold videos.
Because it hasn't. If you can show me a fucking poll,
the United States has.
Why do we have to make your points?
Do you think that non-monogamy is on the rise? And do you think that religiousness is going down? Because both of those things are true in our country.
Yeah, but this is not you demonstrating for us that you think that guys like Destiny are a reflection of the general public of men. That's an insane claim that I would really like to see you justify somehow.
I'm telling you, non-monogamy is on the rise in America. Religiousness is on the downfall.
Getting married
marriage is on the downfall. Divorce is at a crazy rate. So I think that really reflects that people don't really uphold these morals that were around in, even 20 years ago.
But look at
I think the climate is changing.
That's not.
I know.
That's
I 1000% agree.
In any way. Listen, that is in no way, shape, or form. I'm going to grant all of those as being true because they, for the most part, all are true.
Okay.
That still has nothing to do with the claim that most men in the general public are letting other men on purpose bang their chicks. That's an outrageous claim.
I think for the most part, when you consider that religiousness is not as popular, non-monogamy is becoming popular, people don't care as much what the body count is. Am I saying that they shouldn't? I think you should for multiple reasons. Like, someone with a high body count reflects danger on multiple levels, physically.
There is no reason for us to believe that because you're non-religious, you're going to let other men plow your chick.
No,
There's
but
no reason for us to believe that at all.
your argument was that religious people care about purity, and I don't think that's the case either, typically.
Yeah, but I think that most men, why do you get married even as a secularist? Do you think that it's so that you can share your chick?
No, but not everybody supports marriage, so how does that factor into the debate?
Well, most secularists are still getting married.
You're kind of proving my point. Less people are getting married, so if that's not a good debate topic.
But secularists are still getting married.
Okay.
So the thing is that secularists are still getting married, religious people are still getting married.
Want virgins or people like? I just want to see data that's backing the point, because what I'm saying.
You're making the point. That burden's on you, not on us.
No, actually, y'all made the point.
No, you made the point that the general public is like Destiny. Is a good reflection of the general public.
On a side tangent. The general point is that
you can just retract the claim and say you were wrong.
You say that most men prefer a woman that has a lower body count. I'm saying, show me any data that reflects that this generation of men give a shit, because I don't think they do.
I think if it's just to sleep with them, they don't care.
That they don't.
Okay.
Let us assume.
Exactly. That's not what I think they're talking about. I think they're talking about for long-term commitment.
But like, look, she's in a long-term committed relationship. I have multiple friends that are OnlyFans girls, stars, dancers, who are all in committed monogamous relationships. So these men obviously don't give a fuck.
But she's not in a committed monogamous relationship, right?
Mostly, yeah. I mean, they live together.
It's very much. It's
a very serious relationship.
Yeah, and it is a very serious relationship. It's the most serious one I've ever had.
Oh, I wasn't doubting the serious. I meant about the monogamy, though.
Which is a little different, you know. It's a little different than what you might think is like normal.
Well, that just kind of reiterates the point. Like, you can be in a serious relationship and not even expect monogamy, and that's becoming culturally normal. And I don't think
it's not culturally normal.
I'm not. You don't think it's culturally normal among our generation?
No. It's becoming more popular.
In the younger generation.
It's not culturally normal anywhere in the United States or in any Western nation that I'm aware of. If you're married or even have a girlfriend, that you on purpose allow other men to plow her. That is not a cultural norm. No.
Okay, so is the argument...
They're ostracized by other men. They're called cucks by other men. They're considered to be less virtuous. They're mocked. They're ridiculed endlessly.
Sure. But
that sounds like the opposite of a
Let's stay on the point. Let's stay on the point. It reflects that men do not care how many women a person has been with.
You can draw circles on the table, and that's good that you're doing it, because that's what your arguments are. They're circular.
No, you're trying to go on these side tangents to distract from the original point. Yeah. If you can show me data that shows that modern American men care about virginity or body count, then I will absolutely concede, because I've already displayed that I'm willing to do that.
But the problem,
your argument is not strong enough for me to do that on this topic.
But it doesn't matter if the argument's not strong enough for your skepticism. Empirical data is not a standard which must be adhered to when you have logical demonstration. So I logically demonstrated to you that there must be some preference for chastity, or most of the world wouldn't be religious with chaste religious values.
Okay.
It must be the case that they must value it to some degree.
Right, and I gave you that if we were talking about the whole world, and then I clarified that if we're talking about America, I just don't see anything that shows that men really care as much as you're claiming.
I got a question. If we were to do some poll, if we were to go into the street and approach 100 men, and we gave them two options, and we said, would you prefer to date a woman with a body count of 10 or a body count of 100? Do you think they would lean more towards one or the other?
Okay, let's make the question what you said earlier: a 10 who has a higher body count, or a 7 that has a lower?
No.
Well,
these
things factor in. Like, I think men care more about how hot a chick is than they do her body count.
Okay, so here we go. Personality, individual differences. You can find this study. It was done by K.T. Sohn. Men's revealed preferences regarding women's promiscuity. In the abstract, literally right away in the abstract. Now, if you want, I can get into, because I think it's fair if you're doing anything that's empirical that you want to probably understand methodologies, things like this. But Men have evolved to exhibit a desire for chastity and sexual fidelity and an abhorrence of promiscuity in long-term mates.
Do you have it
We investigated whether these preferences
Are you looking it
manifest
up?
themselves even in an unlikely situation like prostitution by observing men's behavior. We considered 8,817 prostitutes under 45 who worked in Indonesian cities. We measured female promiscuity by experience in. So if we go ahead, without going into every detail, essentially in almost every section of this, they preferred less promiscuity. Now, you could say, well, we could adjust because you're comparing them to prostitutes and there's cultural stigma. I can understand that too.
We're also talking about America specifically.
Yeah, you can look at all sorts of different variables inside the study.
The variables matter.
I would grant that as being totally fair.
Okay. So maybe
but I just want to let you know that what's interesting about it is that what's cited in the abstract immediately is that men have evolved to exhibit a desire for chastity and sexual fidelity and an abhorrence of promiscuity in long-term mates. Why would that be fundamental in the abstract from people who have an evolutionary view? Why would that be the case?
In the evolution, from an evolutionary perspective, it's 100% valid.
And
for
you
men and
believe in
women.
Evolution, correct?
I do.
Then what the hell are you talking about?
I'm saying that in modern evolution is not the only thing that factors into a person's decision making. Yes, that's
You
the
just
primal
said that
biological
evolutionarily
thing.
men have evolved
Yes.
to not like promiscuity,
Sure, and
but
if we're
you're
gonna-
not convinced that men don't like promiscuity. I'm
So if
super
we're gonna,
confused.
I'm saying that there's many things that factor into a person's personality and their decision making. There's nurture, there's nature, there's evolutionary biology, there's generational influences. There's a lot of influences on what makes a person make a decision.
Yeah,
so
but what's
if we're
going to be the
boil it
stronger
down to the
correlate?
individual
So,
things,
for instance,
then
in
sure.
nature versus nurture, we don't really know. It could be 50-50. Could be 70-30.
fair.
We don't know. But when you're
Exactly.
talking about nature,
Literally
when you're talking
is my
about
point.
But when you're talking about nature itself, it almost always does come down to nature. You're talking about things like IQ, things like this.
100%,
right?
yeah.
There's only X amount that can be done from nurture. But the thing that's interesting is that even if we take into account, let's say it is a 50-50 between nature and nurture, then your evolutionary biology of promiscuity, the nurture portion of that would also be brought down to the children from the biological parents who were evolved to not like the promiscuity. So you would have both of those strong correlates there.
You cannot like it, but what was the question on here, right? Like, that if a girl who does OnlyFans is less likely to find a partner, and your retort to that is it's because men want someone who's less promiscuous or doesn't have a high body count. I think even if that is the case, which I'm not saying it is because I don't know, I haven't seen anything that convinces me enough that men really care.
Except evolution?
Currently, okay, on an evolutionary level for sure, absolutely. But that's not
Okay,
the
so then
only
on the
thing that
nurture
factors
level, that's
into
gonna
the
be part of
decision
evolution
making.
as
And
well.
when it comes to if they're actually going to date an OnlyFans girl, I don't see many of them not in relationships or lacking
We've
because of that.
already granted you that women who do OnlyFans can get into relationships. We're not saying women who do OnlyFans, they'll be forever alone. They're going to be entirely precluded from ever having a male partner.
Yeah, but I don't think
That's
they're
not
even
our
less likely to
argument.
find someone though.
Wait, didn't you literally concede? I don't know if it was you.
I'm saying
you
it's
don't
fair.
you don't
It's
acknowledge that a woman who's involved in sex work, you don't think it closes the door at all for any men.
To some
To
guys,
most,
but
I would argue
that's the
most
whole point.
men.
Right, that's where we're having the disagreement.
So
I agree
most
with
would
you.
be
I just don't
most would be
necessarily
51% or more.
I don't necessarily.
You think
so.
51% of men want to date a woman? Let's do the
Even if they don't want to, that doesn't mean that they're not doing it. I could say I prefer a guy who doesn't have a high body count, and then I meet someone and I fall in love with them, and I'm like, you know what? As long as you're monogamous with me, I can look past it, and I think that happens a lot for.
I just have one
Sure.
last question, right? Because I just want to tell you on the other end of the study. Now, to be completely fair to you, I'm looking this up on the fly because you're asking for empirical data, right? So, I mean, you have every right to question it. But one thing here, the results that were derived from this particular study, it demonstrated that men exhibited those evolutionary preferences because they paid less to more experienced prostitutes and they paid more to less experienced prostitutes. Why do you think that would be?
To avoid STDs, I'm sure. But again, you're trying to compare prostitutes.
Hang on, these prostitutes were vetted for STDs. That was a great
Thank you. Thank you,
donated
Meatball.
$500.
He's a brave and a decent
Okay,
man.
let's mute Raven. Time to move on.
All right, we got to mute her mic for 10 minutes because that's